Hi, guys. Sorry, I'm confused. Hi, guys. Welcome to my channel. My name is Emmie from Emmie Evolving. We are starting with episode 20 of the Soul Sanctuary podcast. This episode is a very, very special one. And I actually have a very special guest that I'm going to be bringing up. Give me 1 second. Let me see. Okay. There. So, all right. Ooh, everyone's greeting you already. So
I can't
today's
see the comments, but hi guys.
today's episode 20, and you had brought up a really amazing topic that I'm very, very excited to talk about with you. And this is a topic that's very close to my heart. It's something that, people have asked me about for quite some time. And I've been very skittish talking about this topic. I'll let you take the reins here. I'm still skittish.
Well, I want to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to ask you about these things because I think that today's topic is a very important one. It deals with the very basics. And it's something because I think that a lot of us in the community, some of us might be familiar with some of the terminology, some of us may not. And I think this is going to be great to kind of get some basics down. We are going to break it down today. So, fam, help me out, help us out. If you are ready to break things down, like morphogenetic template, energy work, Blu-ray, all of these things, I want you to put a hashtag in the chat. Hashtag break it down in me. How about that? Break it down.
I'm nervous. you know, I
It's okay.
I honestly don't know why I get so nervous talking about this. And I think it kind of illustrates how energy work, just the topic of energy work, is something that we have so been conditioned to believe is taboo. You know,
Yes, yes,
like Claire tarot readings, that's taboo. Anything
yes.
that's outside of the norm of what society says is okay. We're taught like we can't be that, we can't do that,
Exactly.
no matter how beneficial it actually is.
Yes, yes.
And it's one of those things. So okay, I'm gonna let you go ahead and guide me through this, girl. Guide me through this.
Okay, I like what you said. It's so very important, and I agree. So who knows? Maybe this topic and this conversation will help reach some of those who may have some questions, but like, yeah, it's still taboo. But they'll be able to know more if they watch this. So that's a great thing. So everybody, I've got my handy dandy notes over here with some questions I would like to ask Emmy. So here's a brief overview of today's episode. First, we will have an interview with Emmy, followed by a Q&A session. And you'll be able to ask him your questions about this topic. There will also be an exclusive Zoom conference via Emmy Soul Sanctuary site for all recurring contributors. Okay, so let's get started. If you've ever had any questions about energy work, bam, type in the chat, hashtag, I'm in the right place.
Ooh.
Hashtag, I'm in the right place. Yes. And so to get started, I'm curious, even if you may not exactly know what they mean, and that's okay. How many of you have ever heard of any of the following terms? Blu-ray, energy work, expedite, bioscan, tarot reading, morphogenetic, morphogenetic template, Kokoro 33, Kokoro 33 CP. How many of you have ever heard of any of those terms, even if you are not necessarily sure what they mean? I would like to see that, have that be in the chat. All right. So, in either case, again, you're in the right place because on today's episode, we're going to break all of those things down and more. Emmy, let's get right into it. Today's topic is Blu-ray energy. Blu-ray energy work. Let's unpack that. First, what is Blu-ray? Next, what is energy work? Finally, what is Blu-ray energy work? Hashtag break it down.
So, energy work is really any form of frequency modulation transfer. When a person makes any type of changes to the current frequency state, they are doing energy work. What is work outside of transferring from one to another? That is actually the definition of work, that transference that occurs. So, when you're doing energy work, it's a specific type of transferring. It has to do with a person's organic, energetic state being transferred into a different state, modulated. And usually that has to do with trying to create more harmony, more balance within the individual's energetic field. Now, you asked me about Blu ray. Blu-rays. This is a term that has become very, very muddled, right? People don't really know what it is. There's so much conflicting information online. Blu-ray stems from a particular soul family called the Melchizedek. I'm not talking about the priesthood. I'm not talking about a person. I'm talking strictly in regards to Keylontic science and Kathara. Melchizedek is the first audible tonation that was experienced as creator began to explore its own consciousness. That's the sound that was heard, Melchizedek. And with that, it kind of ties into some of our um, assumed human history, right? There's no real way for us to truly prove this. There's a lot of assumptions, there's a lot of hypotheses. For me personally, and this is just my personal belief based on conversations I've had with my soul and, a few other details. So, my personal belief is that humans are a hybridized species. Humans are the end result. The modern human is an end result of the cross hybridization of a terrestrial species, some type of sapien that was organic to Earth, okay, some type of great ape. And we were hybridized with fallen Melchizedek code. So, as part of our birthright, we have the ability to ascend, to transcend this human experience and ascend back to our rightful consciousness state. With that, there's a lot of things that have occurred that have helped to delay this. It's not something that can be prevented, but there's been a lot of tampering that's occurred on the earth, the planetary grid, and our personal human microgrid. And I think some of the questions you're going to be asking me will tie into that. So, Blu-ray is a short form for Melchizedek because the Melchizedek, based on their frequency signature, that band of frequency that creates that soul family, it registers as the color blue. Frequency can be seen, it can be heard, it can create form. So when we say Melchizedek, that's blue frequency. And that's why it's called a blue ray. There are said to be at least 7 rays of creation: the blues, the purples, the greens, the full rainbow, that full spectrum. When we look at rainbows, how do we create that? By taking white light and bending it to explore all the components. And this is what Creator did. It bent itself in its exploration. And that singularity was then separated into the multiple components that create the totality of creation. Blu-rays is just one component. It's not the end all be all, but it is part of our, I guess you can say, galactic genealogy. People think aliens and angels are two different things. An ET is an ET is an ET. What does ET stand for? Extraterrestrial, meaning it's not organic to this earth. Now, we're not differentiating between where they come from, what frequency band, what planetary system, they are not from Earth. So ET is ET is ET. And we are a hybridized species. I absolutely believe that. There are so many different things that you can see throughout the discovery of our occupation of this planet. There are those with elongated skulls. There are those with all sorts of different abnormalities that are being found, and a lot of this information is suppressed because, again, it ties back to the taboo. Now, as part of our birthright, we have the capacity to modulate frequency. It is our They withheld this from us. This information was withheld. Just like when you see how certain peoples were taken from their motherland and transplanted into other nations, foreign lands, and they weren't allowed to speak their language. They weren't allowed to remember their ancestors and practice their cultures. They no longer know who they are. And a new type of, I guess you could say, ethnicity was created. It's the same exact thing that humanity experienced. I mean, I don't want to go too far into the racial topic. I know that's a very triggering topic for a lot of people, but you see the existence of the African American. Africa is a continent, it is not a country. Just like you can call me Asian, but at the end of the day, I'm a specific type of Asian, and we weren't allowed to remember our history as a human species. And that was specifically for control. It ties into the presence of certain types of flora that was transplanted here on Earth, cannabis. We were created with a cannabinoid system in our body. That's an organic part of you. And that plant was propagated here on Earth. That's not a planetary species, and it was propagated in order to give us the ability to not ascend, but also self heal. That's why it has such medicinal benefits. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are misusing it at this point. But, everyone is free to experience their life as they see fit. But this all ties into a lot of our history and how energy work is another component that actually can set us free as a people. It can absolutely set us free. It can recalibrate you in such a way that your body begins to function in the way it was designed to function. Minimal dis-ease, minimal pathology, and all of these different things. My energy work is quite a bit different than other people's because I have these memories. These are not things I've read somewhere. These are memories. And I understand how all of these different components actually come together synergistically, and they create an experience of whole being wellness. They cause a person to go from a fractionated, I'm only this and I'm only that, to then existing in a totality, going from the duality and entering into the totality, right? So I'm sorry, that was a lot.
That was great. That was great. Oh my goodness. And you actually touched on some things that I wanted to ask about. So I won't have to ask about certain things. That's wonderful. So, Pam, if you are learning something, if you just learned something from anything that Emmie has said, hashtag, I have learned something. I would like to know how many of you have learned something. Are you all enjoying this?
I think they are. I think they are.
That's great. This is a wonderful opportunity. Really, really love it. Okay, so while we're still speaking of beginnings, you did talk about how these are memories. This is not something that you learn. And can you share with us the origins of your energy work, your specific form of energy work, your particular system?
So my system is not a system that is hybridized between different modalities. It is a system that I came into this life knowing how to do. Part of my soul purpose and my soul identity ties into why I was allowed to incarnate with a large portion of my soul memories intact. Most people, when they incarnate, a large portion of their memories will become inaccessible. And it really has a lot to do with what your purpose is. My purpose is to bring information back to humanity. It's to empower humanity and to recreate the balance that we once existed within. This balanced state between a powerful patriarchy and a powerful matriarchy. And a lot of my story has to do with being born into an environment that is devoutly religious, an environment where I was very heavily indoctrinated. I know the ins and outs of my religion. I have all of my sacraments that I could possibly have, except for the sacrament of, right before you pass away. That's quite possibly the only sacrament I did not get. I'm baptized and confirmed, and I spent my entire life just absolutely in love with Creator, creation. Just, I wanted to devote my entire life to God. Um, it was something that I was very, very just, I was so committed to this. I've shared before in live streams, I was so devoutly religious for most of my life that I had a goal of becoming a Carmelite nun. Okay. Like a Carmelite nun. And I, I found that I rejected so much of myself because my religion that I was born into, baptized, and confirmed told me that I am an abomination.
Mm.
And that created
Wow.
so much struggle for me. So
Yes.
much struggle, so much self hatred, self loathing, rejection, full on
Mm,
abandonment of the truth of who I am.
mm,
And I won't say this as though like religion maltreated me or anything like that. Okay. I'm actually thankful for my history. There is a thing that I became aware of. And this is the entire story of my life is nothing but cycles of this particular thing. Several years ago, I coined a term, and the term is trauma induced accretion. Trauma induced accretion is a process, it's an energetic process by which trauma, whether it's physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, whatever it is, any form of trauma, has the capacity to initiate a process that will cause you to surge energy. It's the etheric equivalent of that fight or flight response. It's a survival tactic. And because of the environment that I grew up in, the environment that I've lived in, trauma induced accretion cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle. My birth alone ensured that I would have a trauma induced accretion. I almost died at birth. I am an emergency C section, and it was so serious. Immediately after I was removed from my mother's womb, she had a complete hysterectomy. We both almost died. And that trauma induced accretion, what that does is it floods your entire morphogenetic template with energy, extremely high frequencies. So, as these frequencies flood your auric field, these energetic pathways that normally would atrophy and become completely dormant by the time you are 5 years old, they stayed wide open. So trauma after trauma after trauma. I mean, it's safe to say I've lived a very traumatized life. Am I nothing but trauma? No.
wow.
It's empowered me to the degree that I am the person I am now. If there were other ways to accomplish this, I would love that. Unfortunately, this was the way that my soul decided, and I accept that. I don't see myself as a victim. So, as part of my story, because I'm such a high resting frequency, I'm at the upper echelon of this 15 dimensional time space matrix, right? There's 15 dimensions. I'm anchored at that upper echelon. I was not exposed to people who could help me to understand my abilities.
Mm,
Okay. Well, you know what? Maybe that's inaccurate. I come from a lineage of healers.
okay.
My grandmother and her parents, they all had these very elevated abilities. And
Mm,
so um, I wasn't really allowed to spend too much time with her. I distinctly remember that. I wanted to spend so much time with her and I wasn't allowed to, right? Um, so a lot of my story ties in this sense of being so alone, so separate. And again, that's not a bad thing. It helped me to develop with minimal interruption of my sense of self, right?
Yes.
As a child, because my resting frequency was so high, I attracted quite a bit of very dark beings. Now, I want to make very clear demonic things are real, but we don't have to be afraid. I call them parasitic because it takes away the stigma of the term demon. When we use the term demon, immediately our religious programming tells us there's nothing we can do. We are victims to whatever they want to do. We are at their mercy. And no, that is not the truth. Demonic things are the darker aspect of creation, and darkness does not equate evil. Okay. What I've learned, and this is what helped to reduce my fear to the point where I'm just not afraid anymore, parasitic things are more aware than us. And their awareness is not that much more than what we're aware of. They're aware of creation, but they're not aware that they are not separate from creator. And if you're aware of creation and you still believe you are separate, what ends up happening is how will you survive? You don't have access to that energy. So then you look for things to feed from. It's just parasitic behavior, you know. And when we can look at it in those terms, like are you afraid and helpless against tapeworms? No. You do what you need to do to get rid of the tapeworms and you go back to your health. And that's how I see it now. So a lot of my history involved a lot of demonic type activity. I've shared publicly before how I would get marks on my body, um, teeth marks, claw marks, all sorts of different things. At one point, it felt like I had something branded on my neck, like my neck was burned while I was awake, with other people in the room. And I went and looked in the mirror, and it was a perfectly symmetrical three. It looked like it had been branded on my neck, big, the whole length of my neck. Just things like that. I've been
Wow.
pushed down the stairs. I've had my eyelashes ripped out. At one point, we were sleeping in an RV camping, and I had my lip split open. I was hit in the mouth real hard
Oh,
to where like it split open and it was bleeding. Just crazy things like that. But here's the beautiful thing about it, because we can turn any ugly thing into something beautiful.
mm,
The beautiful thing is my exposure to their torment, because they tormented me. Um, it helped me to further develop my abilities. This is why one of my subspecialties is parasitic extraction. And I also coined that term. I own the copy, I own the trademark for that, because they themselves taught me what I need to do to empower myself and everyone that I work with. So, a lot of my story is about learning through my life experience with no one around to tell me that I can't do that. I shouldn't
mm.
be able to. And because I didn't have those limitations to believe in, I developed with a limitless potential. Yeah.
Wow. That's phenomenal. That's just, and in addition to my still being like, wow, over here, you answered so many questions. You even went into parasitic, what that means, parasitic extraction. Oh, girl, you don't even need me up here. You
No,
are really doing your thing.
no, I need you still.
Wow.
I need you.
I need you to. It's no issue. We got this. We got this. So, so fam, in the chat, if you have learned something, even from that, something, I'll tell you what, can we do this? A term that you weren't familiar with, or a term that you had heard but had not really understood, can you hashtag that term? Let us know how you're receiving this information. We really appreciate that. So, all right, now, fam, now it's time to break it down. We are going to really, really break it down. We're going to go farther into breaking it down. So, if you can hashtag break it down in the chat. So, I want you to know if you heard some of those things and you didn't quite understand, It's okay. We're about to break it down even more. I am going to ask Emmy some things, and I'm going to pretend like I'm a 7 year old. And Emmy is going to break it down as if I were a 7 year old. So we're all right. Hashtag hold on. It's coming. All right? Hold on, it's coming. So, all right now, Tim. Emmy, amongst many other things, you are a medical intuitive. I would like to know more about that. What is a medical intuitive?
Well, a medical intuitive is someone who has a medical inclination. They seem to have like a higher level of understanding of, and capacity to understand medical processes, anatomy, physiology, all sorts of different things, right? When it comes to the human body and human health. Now, a medical intuitive is someone who maybe they are a licensed medical professional, or maybe they're not, but they have a very heightened intuitive ability. And that intuitive ability is melded beautifully with their medical inclination. For me personally, I am a medical intuitive. I am not a licensed trained medical professional. But the beautiful thing here is that I come from a culture where the parents have a tendency to groom their children to become medical professionals from infancy. And so I benefited from that cultural practice. At one point in my life, when I was still trying to be normal, in air quotes, I was being groomed to become a cardiothoracic and neurological surgeon, a neurosurgeon. That was what I wanted to specialize in, and I just love medical things so much. I have the ability to understand quite a bit, and whatever I don't understand, I absolutely have the ability to learn it on the spot. And so that makes me someone who can really, really help a client find the root causation of what's going on. Everything that you experience physiologically, it has an energetic root causation. The energy will affect the emotion, will affect the mindset, will affect the manifestation of that symptomatic presentation. And whatever you experience, if you can find the energetic root causation, you can, in fact, completely resolve the issue. Now, for some of you who have been with me for some time now, you watched me as I did this journey, this huge life altering journey with my brother. He was going through end stage heart failure. They gave him 3 weeks to live. I mean, it was traumatic for the whole family, the whole family. And basing, a lot of my instinct in my medical history, I was able to work with his team and really make sure that all of these things that actually could have killed him, could have prematurely ended his life, that we were able to negate all of that. And when we were able to identify the root energetic causation of this very serious terminal condition, the only thing that his cardiac team could offer as a long term solution is a full on heart transplant. It was that serious. Okay. When we were able to identify the root causation, which I kind of just nudged him along, kind of helped guide him through his process, um, he is officially not registering as heart failure. This is with blood tests, this is
Wow.
with an ultrasound, this is with an EKG, everything. His heart is beautiful again. It
Wow.
registers as a normal heart. He was down to 7% function, 7% function. Like, how do you continue to live? You can't. You can't. And that's some of the things that a highly skilled medical intuitive can help you with, identifying the root causations. But there's limitations to what a medical intuitive can do, because at the end of the day, your brain is designed to be something that can calibrate and recalibrate again your entire morphogenetic template. Whatever work I do, if you do not change your mindset, you revert back to the original condition that your mindset created in the first place. So there's limitations to energy work, but if you're really willing to invest in yourself and have lost your fear of being healed, tremendous, miraculous things can occur. Tremendous things can occur. I've helped so many people with very serious medical conditions, very serious. And I won't say that I healed them. I will say that I facilitated their self healing.
Mm.
I will say that. I don't want to make any claims that I healed this person and healed that. Um, but I can say I can provide medical documentation of the efficacy of my attempts to facilitate their self healing. I can absolutely say that with accuracy. I can do that. Yes. So medical intuitive. I mean that goes more into the morphogenetic recalibrations and the work that I actually do. My energetic system, Kokoro 33, of that dis-ease.
Mm. Oh, Pam, are you learning anything? I'm over here learning a lot. I really am. And I want you all to still hold on. For some of you who may be like, okay, I'm getting a bit more than I had before, but I still need some landmarks. I still need a little bit of directions to get to the mall from where I am or to get to the market from where I am. Don't worry. For me, I'm going to tell you hashtag hold on is coming. Don't worry. Don't worry. So, Emmy, this is actually a question that I don't have already down as far as right now at this particular place. But you spoke a bit about the physiology and the connection between the mind, body, soul, the energy, all of these things.
Yeah.
Um, it wasn't so long ago, maybe a year or two ago, that, well, that's a bit of ago, that you had a wellness challenge.
Mhm.
And it was really dealing with eating according to your frequency. That was really a great thing. And I actually participated in that myself. But can you just briefly tell us about how what we put in our body, how stress and all of these things can affect our energy, and anything that you want to tell us about the relationship between mind, body, soul.
That relationship is a very intimate relationship. They are interwoven. You cannot separate them and continue to exist as a healthy human being. There's just no way. There's no way to do that. Now, you can compartmentalize and pretend like everything's okay, but that doesn't mean everything is okay. So, when you're eating for your frequency, you have to first identify what your resting frequency is. And as you identify that, you begin to get a good sense of what food groups, what type of eating style, dietary preferences you should begin to implement. Someone who is a more higher type resting frequency, veganism is not compatible. You need something that is very grounding. Okay. You don't necessarily have to eat flesh. You can eat cheeses, you can eat eggs, all sorts of different ways to do this. But what ends up happening if you're a high frequency individual and you listen to other people about becoming a vegan because that's spiritual and yada yada, you create a massive imbalance within your body. There are so many people who were devoutly vegan who are now, like, quietly and sometimes very ashamed that they couldn't sustain it. They have to eat, you know, meat, some chicken here and there. And it's like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Listen to your body. I say this as someone who is a very high resting frequency. And I was a devout vegan for about 6.5 years. In that period of 6.5 years, not only was I devoutly vegan, I would alternate from veganism to raw veganism. Okay. And that's supposed to be extremely healthy for you. I was not a junk food vegan at all, at all. Everything freshly cooked. And one of the things that I realized was happening was my body was degrading. I was taking supplements, there are certain um, essential amino acids that you need to get from another animal source. You can't get that from plants. And if you're a vegan, you need to supplement. I was aware of all of this. And so I was supplementing. I should have been the healthiest I've ever been. I was doing yoga several hours a day, every day, just really working on myself. And That was the unhealthiest I've ever been, the most unhealthiest I've ever been. And why is that? Because I did not listen to the needs of my frequency. What I've noticed when people are a very high resting frequency and they listen to others telling them what to do about their diet, it creates a surge in their frequency and it causes them to go even higher. And that causes a disconnect with the rest of humanity. That was the time where I was the biggest aholio I have ever been in my life. I didn't want to identify as human. I couldn't relate to humans. They were just, ugh, vile, and it's like, girl, what are you doing? This is not what you're here for. And eventually it got to the degree that my medical professionals were telling me that I was at risk of organ damage, irreversible organ damage. I didn't want to listen to allopathic medicine. So I told modern doctors, like, you don't know what you're talking about. And so I went to holistic people. I went to acupuncturists, traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. They all said the same thing. They all said the same thing. And finally, I had to listen. I had to. One of the things that helped me to understand the ways in which I was using my diet to punish myself was when I was having this very intense conversation with Archangel Michael. He's constantly talking to me. And I was like, I need to advocate for the animals. I love animals a lot. I love all living things. And I was like, I don't agree with all of these factory farms and the way they treat the animals before they're slaughtered. It's not okay. And, he was like, do you not understand? You're an animal as well. You are part of the mammalian family. You yourself are a mammal. And I was like, what? and he was like, you have to understand, having compassion for an animal outside of your species and self does not make you spiritual. It does not elevate your understanding of your purpose and your value. And that's when it hit home for me. I was punishing myself. I was trying to be like other people that I had labeled as spiritual. Now, granted, no one was shaming me to do this. They were not. They were not. No one was shaming me. I was shaming myself. And that's a lot of the stuff that people experience when they're first entering into their spiritual journey. Now, if you're a lower frequency, that doesn't make you less. It just doesn't. It's like, yeah, I have a different skin tone than you. Does that make one of us more than the other? No, it's just a difference in skin tone. We're still equally valid. And so when your frequency is lower, you have a lower resting frequency. What ends up happening is a vegan diet is beautiful for you. Beautiful. Are you guys aware that plants, they have a sentience about them? I can feel that. You're eating them alive when you're a vegan, a raw vegan. You're eating living things. That's living energy. Just like eating meat is eating energy, so is eating plants. They're living things. And so when you're lower frequency and you're not taking in animal products, you're not taking in things that are grounding, that cause certain degrees of inflammation. That inflammation helps to create a resistance to the flow of frequency. That's why your frequency rises when you eat a very alkaline diet. Now, if you're a very high frequency already, you need some of that resistance or you'll blow out your chakras, you'll skew your perception, all sorts of really detrimental things for you and your understanding of yourself and your soul. When you have excessive amounts of inflammation, that's also not good. So you have to be able to eat what your body needs when you need it. There will be long stretches where maybe I'm surging energy already because of planetary alignment, my geographic location, personal situation, and I will crave nothing but meat. I will just meat, 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 right? And I have to honor that. And when I'm already too high or too low of a frequency, too much inflammation, I'm like, you know what? I don't want no meat. That makes me feel sick. I just want vegetable, vegetable, vegetable. And there'll be times where And I want 2/3 vegetable, 1/3 meat. And that's how I know I'm more balanced because I'm craving both, right? Whatever you guys crave, it's because you are deficient in whatever that food is high in. Okay. That's what cravings are. That is your body indicating it is deficient in something. And so you have to listen to your body. You absolutely have to listen to your body. Um, there's ways to maintain a meat free, a vegetarian lifestyle, and you're high frequency, and you can still be balanced. You would need to eat grounding foods, just a whole bunch of different techniques that you can learn over a period of time. I noticed that people who are higher in frequency, once you reach a certain level of frequency increment, um, you become incompatible with a lot of the very common food groups that are put into pretty much all pre-made foods, all processed foods, whether it's a sauce or a frozen thing or whatever, they add it in there. So cow dairy, that's like a big, very, very huge inflammatory type ingredient. All grains are also inflammatory. Nightshades, some of the components of nightshades become toxic to someone who is a higher frequency. I mean, and that toxicity creates inflammation, not necessarily that you'll keel over. I'm not.
That's comforting.
Yeah, I don't want you guys to get scared and think you're gonna just keel over. You're not gonna just keel over, but some of these foods, like you can never have it again, and you can try. You can definitely try, but you'll feel how sick it makes you feel. Many of us don't know how sick we feel on a day to day basis because of the fact that we've felt sick our entire lives. So we don't know what it feels like to feel healthy. When I cut out all of these foods, all of my inflammation disappeared. My health was restored within 3 months without any um, calorie restriction, no calorie counting, no nothing. I eat how much I want, when I want, whatever time I want, right? I lost literally over 100 pounds in 3 months. No working out, no effort, no nothing. It literally melted right off of me. And my aging process was reversed. I was already in my, I think, like early to mid 30s, and people thought I was 16. And it stayed that way until I reintroduced those foods back into my diet. This is a face that's aged. This is a face of inflammation. If I remove all of that, I will reverse my aging process again. It's hard though because those foods are extremely addictive. Sugar, refined sugar, sugar of any kind, honestly. Grains, will you introduce that back into your diet? Oh, baby boo, you're gonna suffer. It's hard. And I see the effects that it's had on my body, the ill effects, very, very detrimental effects to my health. But that was a conscious decision I made eating it. And so I have to make a decision at some point to no longer eat it at all. And, it's just how much do you want to invest in yourself? This is not an expensive diet. I'm talking about wholesome foods, meaning raw veggies and raw protein like meat, eggs, and cooking it yourself. No cheat days, no none of that. What a lot of people don't understand when you're eating for your frequency, things like grains and dairy take about 3 weeks to be excreted completely from your system. That is 3 weeks that you have that in your body creating inflammation, and you can't have any of that. If you look at the way inflammation affects the body, when you have systemic inflammation, it begins to affect the proper functioning of your fascia, your neural function, all of that. And really, a lot of the ways that the etheric components of you integrate into your physiological body is through the integration of your fascia. Every single layer and part of your physical body is encased in fascia. Superficial or deep, fascia is fascia is fascia. It is the very membrane that creates the different bundles of muscles that then creates the muscle groups. It's the membrane that is in your belly. You have a membrane around your heart. It's like it's everywhere. It's the membrane that connects your skin to the rest of your body. And it's the way that your etheric information is translated into your physical body. When you have these issues with the fascia, now I don't know if there is scientific medical studies that are able to prove this. This is what I've seen from having a client list that spans how many years. And for my documented clients, I have over 8,000 just in the past 5 years. That doesn't include the people that I've helped through my lifetime that I refused to document because I was ashamed. So, this is what I've witnessed time and time and time again. When you affect the functioning of that fascia, you will eventually affect the genetic processing, the genetic function. It will affect that. And then you'll begin to develop the physiological diseases that are a result of that energetic circumstance. It's just really, really fascinating to me the way all of this ties together. And I really wish there were more, professionals in their respective fields who would be willing to step out there and do these studies and prove these things. We will eventually get there. We will.
Mhm.
As of right now, it's still a very fringe type topic. The only type of energetic work that is known and has any type of uh, I guess recognition, value is Reiki. And, I know people are going to get mad if I start talking about Reiki, but that's a very surface level type of modality. It does not have the capacity to reach down into core code and create the changes that will then translate into physiological change. It just doesn't. It doesn't have the capacity to do that. They don't know the structures that will help to bypass all of those repulsion zones between the harmonic universes that prevent you from accessing frequencies you don't have the right to access because of your lack of experience and maturity. So it's a lot of information. I mean, I could talk all day about all of this. I it's a lot of information.
Absolutely. And I am learning. I am listening. How many of you are out there listening and learning so much? Wow, this is great. We get the opportunity to just be able to listen to you describe and to explain so many different things that I'm sure a lot of us have had questions about. Um, Thank you for that great explanation. So I'd like to ask a bit about some of the terminology. All right. So I had a question that I want to ask first, but I'm going to switch it up. I want to go directly to this morphogenetic template. Yes. So pretend that I am a 7-year old. Explain to me, and not just any type of 7-year old, the 7-year old who's like, but why? But why? But why? My eldest son was like that. But why? You tell them what they, but why? But why? So explain to me, a 7-year old, these things. What does morphogenetic mean? What is a morphogenetic template? And I want to know who else wants to know at this time. Bam, if you want to know what that means, type hashtag break it down. Morphogenetic template. Let's go.
All right. So, first and foremost, that's my favorite type of 7-year-old. Okay. The but why is my favorite type of little human.
Mm,
Morphogenetic, if you look up what the definition is, it's basically the normal development of a person or thing, the point of origination and the way that develops normally, the way it's designed to develop normally. Now, a morphogenetic template is basically like the blueprint. If you're building a building, you need the blueprints before you actually begin to build. You need to make sure that the structures are are secure. I don't know if that makes sense. When I say secure, structural integrity and the ability to withstand interference, parasitic interference. So those are very, very important things. When you look at a morphogenetic template, it's the blueprint your soul created as a bridge from this expansive amount of energy and potentiality into a more narrowed, condensed, I guess you could say plot line or plan of what you will experience in this life, the different things that you will be predisposed to possibly experiencing, medical conditions, psychological conditions, life experiences, whatever it is. That's what the morphogenetic template is. It's your itinerary, basically.
Mm,
Yes. And with the morphogenetic template, what you need to remember is everyone has one. This is where your soul is able to bring you into physical form. This is the connector between this limitless, immortal part of you and the more confined, more limited, um, with obvious, potential human side of you. And the chakras kind of help bring that information in from the morphogenetic template. The chakras then communicate with your fascia, which then relays all of this information to every single part of your body, from organ to muscle to bone. It relays all of this. That's why fascia is so important. If you look at things like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, those are conditions that I personally believe come from chakra blowout, chakra injury, severe injury of your chakras. And why do I say that? Well, if the chakras blow out and they're the thing that's communicating to the fascia, I mean, really, doctors are speculating that fibromyalgia and similar conditions are a misfiring of your fascia. It's an
mm,
inflammatory response. It's all sorts of hyperactivation of your nervous system, all sorts of different things. And it ties to chakra injury. The morphogenetic template will continue to send information through to that chakra. If it's blocked up and it blows out, it shatters, and all of that energy just accumulates. Whatever layer or region of fascia that's connected to, that's where you will experience the pain or the disease. So the morphogenetic template is the basis from which you can begin correcting all of the human dis-ease,
mm,
all of it,
mm, mm,
including psychological. It can, if you are very, very skilled, you know exactly what to do, and you're a highly skilled medical intuitive, you can completely resolve terminal conditions. You can assist your client with that. You really could. There's that potentiality. Um, but that's hard to do because you have to override the client's programming that made them predisposed to developing that condition in the first place. This is about really, really being aware of where you're at within yourself and within your journey. Um, Sochi asks, how do you injure your chakra? Well, if there's blockages in the chakra. So, okay, I know you wanted to ask me about chakra rejuvenation, right? It ties into that. So, chakras are the last vestiges of our enslavement as a species. We were a labor force for other species, and what they did, because of, I explained earlier that Melchizedek hybridization, we have the capacity to transcend all 15 dimensional levels of consciousness in this time space matrix. And what ends up happening is they wanted to prevent us from ascending, they wanted to delay it. And they began to do this work to phase lock us by first phase locking the earth. They installed all sorts of different seals and all sorts of different things. And as that happened, because of the laws of reciprocal reflection, we began to reflect that as occupants of her surface. And so we began to experience chakra constriction. Chakras exist to constrict, regulate the amount of frequency that enters into your field of awareness from all 15 levels of dimensional consciousness. And so Chakras are a form of enslavement, of separating you from your true potentiality. Now, here's the thing, it's been so many generations that we have been kept from flowing this type of energy. And for you to flow this type of energy now will probably overwhelm you and cause more damage. When you become overwhelmed, and it's a specific band of consciousness that you are experiencing this overwhelming sensation from, if you have your chakras integrated, it will pop back out as a way to protect you. It will regulate how much of that frequency will flood into your field. For example, you're having family issues. What chakra are family issues tied to? Your sacral chakra. That's about close, intimate connections, familial things. So now you're overwhelmed. All your chakras are integrated, but you're overwhelmed. Your body and your mind and your soul will protect you. It will pop out that sacral chakra to constrict how much of that flows through so that you have the opportunity to process on a human level all of this information. Now, if that chakra is already stuffed up because you've been stuffing the feelings down, stuffing the feelings down, stuffing the feelings down, something that should have been the consistency of a nectar is now gelatinous or even densified to the degree that it's solid. When that energy flows through because you're experiencing a trauma induced secretion, this is a chakra, energy is flowing through. It's stopped up. You've traumatized yourself, right? Where is it going to go? It's going to boom, blow out. And all of that energy that should have shot through is now just leaking all over that space. You'll develop symptoms like sciatica, sacral issues, low spine herniation, L5S1, that point where your spine connects to your sacrum. You'll have hip displacement issues. You can have issues with your reproductive organs, your bladder. You have constant bladder infections, urinary tract infections. Start looking at your sacral chakra. Start looking at your familial connections, romantic connections, all of that. And if you leave that there, you know what ends up happening is you start affecting that genetic expression. Your genes are doing nothing outside of translating information from your morphogenetic template. Now, science has not caught up yet, but you have more than a double helix for your DNA. You have quite a few strands, and most of them are etheric, electric in nature. Are you guys aware that this model that we use for DNA, that double helix, that ladder, twisted ladder, that the person who quote unquote discovered that, they dreamed about that. And in addition, there are no actual photographs of a DNA structure. Those are electromagnetic um, imagery. It's not an actual picture of it. And so we're believing things thinking that it's factual. We don't really know. We don't really know. There's a huge potentiality that there are two physical strands, just like there is a huge potentiality that you have up to 48 as long as you are in physical form. And depending on how many strands of DNA go active, that's what's going to determine how much of your latent ability you'll be able to access. That greatly determines it. Specific strands have specific purposes and allow for specific access to certain areas of your morphogenetic template. And these are all just, I mean, I know I'm getting kind of too deep into it, but that's how you injure your chakra. And once that chakra is injured, it's a snowball effect, because then it affects the other chakras and then affects the body. When the body begins to experience prolonged chronic pain, even low levels of chronic pain, that affects your emotions and your mental state. And that's when things will really go downhill. When the emotions and the mental state are affected, it can create growths and malignancies within the body that can become terminal. They can be like really devastating, catastrophic conditions.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. And yes, you did answer some more questions. Yes, you did. Um, with all of this, I would also like for you to know, fam, that we don't have but a limited amount of time. So the workshops are completely different. You'll have time to really start from just scratch and really help to build the knowledge base up. Speaking of that, I would like to tell you all, if you don't know, there is a morphogenetic template workshop that is coming up. You're going to learn so much about these things, and we can only really scratch the surface right now because we don't have a lot of time. We just have an hour and 30 minutes, whatever. But the workshop is completely different, and just kind of gives you an idea of what the morphogenetic template is, um, what it affects, all of these things. Who didn't know these things before? Like, if I could hashtag in the chat, I didn't know some of these things, I would put hashtag, I didn't know some of these things. This is wonderful. All right. So, Emmy, I really want to ask about certain things because you have, you offer an expedite stream, I
Mhm.
believe weekly. Is that correct? Weekly?
Yeah.
Okay. So, some of these things that I know are very popular based on even my being on the screen, my being a mod and seeing, what people order. A lot of people order bioscans.
Mhm.
Please tell me, what is a bioscan and how is this done remotely? How are all of your services that you offer for expedites and private sessions, how are these things done remotely? Because people want to know, well, I mean, I'm not where she is. How is she going to do this? Tell us
Right.
about that.
So I coined the term biospiritual scan because it's a combination of a biological and a spiritual scan. You can't get a full picture of something until you consider both components. Now, I do my sessions remotely because one of my most highly developed abilities is bilocation. With bilocation, I can fractionate my consciousness and project it onto a clone proxy of the person's morphogenetic template. And as I do that, I can then experience firsthand, like, okay, this organ feels swollen, this part of me feels out of place, but I'm not actually taking in any of their disease. So, a lot of the work that I do, it has to do with me fractionating consciousness and using a lot of my other skills that are also highly developed. This is something that I teach in my classes. If someone were to decide to be part of my certification program, this is one of the things that we heavily focus on because you need to know what is wrong before you can make a decision of the proper way to approach the issue. Um, I actually I don't think I've ever met a client in person to work on them this entire time. I've never worked on a client in person, and I've been able to affect all sorts of change. As a matter of fact, I don't even need to hear your voice, see your picture, or any of that. I don't
At
even need your
all.
name. I just need to be made aware that you exist and I can access you because my bilocation ability is that developed.
Guys, I don't know how familiar you are with her work, but I can tell you she's not exaggerating whatsoever. And those of you who know, you know. If you know Tash, type hashtag yes, I know. This is great. So speaking of expedites, I mean, can you tell me what is an expedite? A lot of us hear expedites, we may be familiar with hearing the term, but what is an expedite?
So,
Let's break it down.
Expedite really came from the origins of Soulwork Sunday. As you guys know, I started a nonprofit, a church called Soulwork Synergistics, where I'm bringing all the components of all of these experiences, the knowledge base, the connections, bringing it all together and creating an actual sacred space. And in the beginning, when I first began to do the work that I do, one of the things that I really, really just was not willing to compromise was I wanted to be able to help people without any regard for what they can afford. And so I was doing live streams that are like 5, 6, sometimes 8 hours long straight. And I would just do energy work, everything for free. And then I began to understand, like, because at that time my reach was very expansive. I would have, quite a few people on. Like by the time an hour had passed, there's 24,000 views. It's just a lot. And so I began to feel like there are people that I'm not being able to help that really, really need the help urgently. And then came the concept of the expedite. So originally, all of this began as completely free work. And what I would do is have an X amount available, and you just purchase an expedited request, which is really a fraction of the cost of a private session. And that would be my knowing, like, okay, you really need this. I need to work with you first. And when I have time, I will get to everyone else that, completely free. And I will just pick whoever I'm drawn to. And so that's where the expedite thing came from. The difference between an expedite and a private session is simply how much time I spend with you, your level of privacy. Because, there's certain times where a person will book me, say, for a scan, and next thing you know, their deceased relative is coming through, and okay, I have to communicate this, and that's just kind of how my sessions go. And in a private session, I can do that. In a public live stream, I mean, there's like 20, 30 people waiting in line, and I'm going to be live for 5, 6 hours. I can't really do that unless it's something super urgent. I can't really do that. And that's the real difference. You get my full focus. If there are things that require zero interruption, that's going to need to be in a private session. There are certain procedures. Say if you have um, an alien implant. You have an inorganic implant, and it's right near a portion of your brain where if I surge energy because I sense something in the crowd and I'm trying to protect, 70, 80 people at once, I can fry that part of your brain. You can lose function in a part of your body. These are things because of the way that I harness energy, um, the intensity and potency of that frequency. I actually can do that to a person. I've never done that. I'm so glad because I am like, no, I cannot do this in a public live stream. That's risking you unnecessarily. So that's really the difference between a private session and an expedite. I still believe that whatever your budget is, that shouldn't keep you from getting some type of assistance. I do so much work that I can no longer do like these hours and hours and hours completely for free. I just have to be realistic. And, it's one of those things. This is a way I can still give back and still be able to do what I need to do. Most people don't know this, but a lot of the fundage that I earn during expedites, I actually use that for in person advocacy, for assisting the homeless population of whatever city I live in. All of my earnings, they're earmarked for specific things. Obviously, sessions cover my day to day expenses, my family, taking care of other family members, extended, multiple households that I care for. And then expedites, that's really like whatever comes in, that's what we're getting the homeless people. That's how many people we're feeding. That's how many tents we're buying. That's how many whatever. And I do all of this without really saying anything. Um, I don't do it for the clout or the recognition. I do it because it feels good to my heart. That's my primary driving force when I do the energetic work and the other types of quieter work that I do. It's based on what my heart tells me, and that's what I teach in my classes as well. Always honoring other people's sovereignty, always working with integrity. That just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Really using discernment, not getting yourself in harm's way just because you want to prove your value. Your value exists because you exist, not because someone is validating it. You don't have to do any of that. And I think that's some of the most important things that I really emphasize in the energetic work that I do. All of these things are so important. And I feel like a lot of the other energetic teachers, systems, whatever it is, I don't feel like they put enough emphasis on this. I knew someone who was teaching people how to remote view. You're teaching them how to violate people's sovereign privacy.
Mhm.
And so what did I do? I taught a class on how to negate remote viewing. Because no, you should not have your privacy violated by anyone. You guys, when someone comes up to you in a parking lot and says, "Hey, I have a message for you." "Oh, I'm reading you." No, that's a violation. When someone is in the comments and it's your turn for an expedite and they're trying to do energy work on you, no, that's a violation. I want you guys to know. I don't care what they're saying in the comments. I don't care what their intention is. They're capped. They're capped. None of their energy is reaching you because I will not allow it. They don't have your permission previous to their attempts. That's important. You need to give permission before someone even tries. That's how important you are. That's how valued you are, not just by me, but by creation. And there's just far too much going on with all of these energy workers, light workers. It's frustrating. It's frustrating the lack of integrity, not just the lack of skill. The lack of integrity is the most destructive thing. They'll see something online and they'll try it on you. And what if they harm you? Well, I don't know. No, that's not okay. And so that's some of the things you guys need to look for when you are considering what energetic worker to work with. I'm not the only one, and you don't need to only work with me. There are other people who might be better aligned for your need, right? This is not about me trying to make profit. This is about me helping to encourage you to make very informed decisions about your energetic health. It affects your psychological, emotional, and physiological health. That's very important. And so, one of the things that you need to consider their level of integrity. Is this someone who has the level of integrity where if you don't need that work done, that they can tell you? Or are they simply interested in the payment? You know, I'm totally like, you paid this much for a session, you don't need it, we're already here in the session. Do you want me to suggest something else that you do need? Something of comparable value? I don't care if it's $20 more than what you pay. Like, I don't need the $20. Consider that a gift. Is that what you need instead? I'll do that instead. I'm not in it for just the money. And the reality is, a lot of people are. This is a very lucrative industry, very, very lucrative. And a lot of people just see you as dollar signs. You're so much more than that. Please don't just be that. Ask the questions, allow your soul to guide you. If something feels off and you don't know what it is, don't do it. Don't do it. But Emmie, I don't know what it is. Exactly. So don't do it. Don't do the session. Don't do that workshop. Don't do whatever it is that you were going to do before you felt what you felt. Listen to yourself. You have the capacity to know. It's time you begin asking the questions that will help you to know. This has been an amazing, amazing talk.
I'm enjoying it. I really just was thinking to myself, even about 2 minutes ago, I just felt a certain shift. Did you feel that?
I did. I did.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I want to ask just a few more things. I know we need to get to the Q&A, but you talked about some of the work that you do, and I know that you do a lot of work. I know you don't talk about a lot of work, but I know that you do. You have mentioned certain things on live streams, and I listen, I pay attention. Um, so this brings me to the nonprofit organization that you founded, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Soul Work Synergistics, yes. So fam, please do me a favor, type Soul Work, hashtag Soul Work Synergistics. I repeat, hashtag Soul Work Synergistics. Can you tell me a bit about that real quick? I know that we don't have a lot of time, but I do want to know a little bit about Soul Work Synergistics, what you're doing, what your mission is. What can you tell me about the organization?
Soulwork Synergistics is really the official extension of the heart work, heart based, soul based work that I've been doing quietly. It's become very clear to me at this point. The work that I do for my own private enjoyment, the helping of others and not sharing, that's a disservice to humanity. More people need to be aware that someone like me exists, someone who has integrity, who has purity of intent, that all I really truly want to do is help. And so then came Soulwork Synergistics. This is a group a socially responsible group that is focused on the upliftment and empowerment of those who are disadvantaged, those who are displaced. I'm talking about in real life application of our integrity. Okay. I'm not just talking about energy work. I'm talking about a group who is willing to do the in real life work, the trying to provide housing, trying to provide food, all of these different necessities that human beings need in order to reach a place of thriving. We are making it our goal to really solidify people's foundations. People need to know they are not alone. People need to know there is someone who understands, doesn't just feel sorry for them. This is not a pity party type of group. This is a, you know what? I've been through something similar. I know exactly what we need to do to fix this. Let's do it. That's the type of group that I've formed. And, there's a lot of different things that are going to be coming forward and being announced, different projects, opportunities, all of this. And, your presence in this right now is really what's helping me to birth it. Now, once this baby is born, the main goal is not to put this on everyone else's shoulders. The main goal is to approach these large corporations that make millions upon millions of dollars every year because of us, and help them to see the world is changing. We are the future of the world. If you want to continue to have this lucrative business, you need to begin showing us and our people you have the integrity to see that we need to be uplifted. We need you to do what you need to do. And the whole goal is to get them to be the ones to donate and really help us to expand and make this truly a global thing. We have a global reach. Yes, we do. You guys have been amazing in helping to spread my work, my words. It's global, literally on every continent except Antarctica. It's not enough to just have a global reach. We need global locations for all of our campuses. These are soul sanctuaries. And the vision that I have is one day the cities will be empty, not because something bad happened, but because something very, very good happened. Everyone decided to leave the cities and return to soul sanctuaries. These smaller villages that are very cohesive, all the people working together for a singular goal of everyone entering and maintaining a space of thriving. There is more than enough for all of us to
Yes.
thrive. More than enough, you guys. More than enough. More than enough. There's more than enough housing to house every single homeless person. All of these houses remaining empty for what? For what? There's enough medicine to go around. And why isn't that medicine going around? Because they're charging the cost of your soul just to stay alive? No, for what? We don't need that. What we need is to come back together and recognize how powerful we are together. And that the only reason these organizations, these leaders, and whatever else have the power they have is because we've given it to them. It's okay for us to ask for it back. It's okay for us to take it back. And this is the first step. So many of us are afraid of being alone in our attempt to become autonomous from a system that seeks to oppress us through our dependency. No. When we know how to grow our own food, doesn't matter what they have in the store. Doesn't matter if you have money. You have a skill your neighbor doesn't have, you can barter, you can trade. There's no need for money, but until we get to a point where enough of us feel empowered enough to exist without that money validation, that false fiat fame, like, no, we're going to continue to exist oppressed by money. And we don't have to. We don't have to. Are you guys aware that for a large part of our human history, we existed in villages and there was peace, minimal conflict, minimal homelessness, minimal starvation? It was only when we began to congregate in large cities and begin to be governed by local municipalities that we began to experience these atrocities. Modern society is not so modern, is it? It's ugly. It's ugly, and it's time for us to return to a space of beauty, a space where there is equality in all its forms between the genders, between the different ethnicities, between the different nations, all of that. All of that. That's our goal. As Soulwork Synergistic, we have to start somewhere. And the very first place is our first campus, the Soul Sanctuary. That's definitely something that will be happening very soon. And I will not stop until it does. What do I mean by that? Exactly what I said. I will not stop until it does. I don't care how frustrated I get. I don't care how long it takes. I will not stop until it does, because my fear of being the face of a movement that actually will change the world, that's gone. That's gone. I'm done playing small.
Oh, I love it. Oh my goodness. Are you all also done with playing small, fam? Hashtag done with playing small. Done with playing small.
Yeah.
Are you gonna say something?
Sea Ocean Soul says going back to base foundations.
Oh, I love it. Exactly. Sacred return.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So there are just two more things because I do want to leave a little room for people to ask questions. Um, I want to ask about teaching opportunities because you not only you not only complete energy work, you not only do energy work, but you also teach your system of energy work. And it is often that people ask, even in the live chats, they want to know, how do I know I have the gifts or abilities to learn K33? So I want to ask you, who was well suited to learn K33?
Literally everyone. Literally. So all the things I teach will typically contradict all of the things that these gurus are teaching. Okay. Now, the less you have experience with spiritual matters, the easier it is for you to integrate the information. My system is such a powerful, potent system, but even a child can do this work. Literally. I've had clients bring their toddlers, and I teach their toddlers how to defend themselves on the aether, on the astral, all of that. This is work that is so easy to do. So easy. When I teach, I help the person realize the capacity of your brain to repattern the standing scalar waves that create your experienced reality. Simple thought. Simple thought. The truth of my energy work. People ask me, like, what are you doing when you're moving your hands? Like, why do you move your hands when you do energy work? I can harness a type of frequency that can absolutely wreck a person's system. So, why do I move my hands? To slow myself down. That's the only reason. To slow myself down. I'm moving energy in slow motion. To me, that's slow motion. With this energetic system, it's as simple as a single thought. You think it and it's done. You think it and it's done. And that's it. And that's how I help you reprogram your logic. You think it and it's done. And it's not like, well, I thought it is it done? It's like, no, it's done. That's it. It's done. Um, do you mind if I do a little exercise with everyone?
I would love it.
Okay. So, what I want you guys to do, if you're willing, I want you to breathe very deep and very slow, and put with your right hand your pointer and your middle finger. These two fingers, hold it up while you breathe. Just breathe very deep and very slow. I'm going to run some frequency down your right arm and into those two fingers. For those of you sensitive to energy, you'll feel this frequency as a tingle, very mild sensation. And you'll begin to feel your middle finger and pointer finger throb just a little bit. Continue to breathe very deep and very slow. Now, I want you to take those two fingers that are now throbbing and put it right above your heart. Take a deep breath in As you exhale, feel a rush of energy down your right arm, out your two fingers, and into your heart. Feel that spread through your entire body. Take one more deep breath in. Slow exhale out. Come back to center. Rejoin me in this space that we share. How do you feel?
That was beautiful. Wow. Flowers and butterflies. Beautiful.
So, I would love to hear all of you sharing what you experienced doing that. And while you share, I also want to share. If you experience something, which I feel like most of you did, that's your energy. All I did was insert energy into your right arm so you could be aware of exactly where that pathway is. And then you did the rest. All you did was listen. That's how easy my system is. That's how easy. You pair my knowledge with my experience, what I teach to the degree that I teach, that changes lives forever. It just does, and it's something that many people think they can't do it. Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. You just did. I didn't run energy through you guys. I simply very temporarily ran some very mild energy through your right arm just so you could feel it. That's it. That's it. Everything else from me saying that on, that's all your energy. From the throbbing of the fingers to the spread from your heart, that's your energy. How does it feel to begin to understand the gravity of your power that you have not yet realized? I'm not interested in being the most powerful. I'm interested in helping all of you to understand exactly what I mean when I say you are my equal. We stand shoulder to shoulder. You know how unstoppable we would be as a people, harnessing our energy in this way. There would be no illness, there would be no nothing negative. And negativity is not bad. Oftentimes, it's negativity that helps us to understand the positivity in life. It gives us that ripened understanding and definition. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but a lot of the negativity we experience in modern society is unnecessary. It's just because people want us to suffer. I don't want to comply. It's that simple.
Exactly.
I just don't want to comply. Oh, too bad. How are you going to make me comply? You can't,
Right.
you know? And that's kind of what I live to remind people. Like, that's part of why I live. I live to remind people through my existence, you don't have to comply. You have to do what you choose to be best for you. Nothing less, nothing more. And, I hope that it's getting through. I really hope that the people who even just joined me for the first time today can see and feel without a shadow of a doubt you are truly powerful. You truly are. Imagine you can do that without even knowing what you're doing, and you don't. How did you do that? Because you're powerful. No one can ever take that from you. All they can do is convince you that it doesn't exist. But why the heck would you listen to a lie and believe it? Ugh, yeah, no, no. It's time for us to choose different. Energy work is the future because it creates a different future than what is planned for us already. So, oh my God, I love this talk so much. I just do.
I love it too. I love it too. Oh, this is just so beautifully powerful.
Yeah.
Um, Lastly, Emmy, how can people connect with you for more information on your services and/or products? Well, next to last thing, um, your expedite, your streams. Those who would like to look into getting an expedite, how when do you do those? And the last thing is, how can people connect with you for more information on your services and or products that includes private sessions? How can we do that?
So for the expedites, I typically do expedites Sunday afternoon, evening time. Usually beginning around 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's when I start. There's a limited opportunity for expedites. After a certain point, the link is closed. So you won't be able to purchase anymore. Whatever is purchased for that expedite stream will be completed during that expedite stream. I will continue working and doing expedites until every single last person who purchased an expedite has their expedite completed. Um, if they want to have a private session, which I know everyone's budgets are kind of being affected by the way the world is. We are running a 30% automatic discount on private sessions on my website, and that's automatically taken off at checkout. We also do have an option of payment plan. Now, the work will not be completed until the payment plan is completely paid off, but there's no reason why you can't pay in installments for work that you need to have done. I like to make it a point to try and work with people. Now, there are some different rules and stipulations with a payment plan. And if that's something you're interested in, you just message us and we can explain all of that to you. My team is very, very good at explaining all of that detail. And then you decide if you want to go forward. And then if you do, we privately invoice you and you're aware of all the different stipulations. If you'd like to purchase a session outright, you just go to, excuse me, you just go to soulworksynergistics.com / Emmie services. Thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay put the comment right there. And I have way more services than I am offering publicly on my website. I actually can do way more than that. But those services, I don't offer them publicly. So, what I do have offered publicly, I think it's over like 200 different types of um, energetic sessions at this point. It's a very extensive menu of different types of calibrations, clearings, rejuvenations, activations, all sorts of different things. Um, one day, I know I won't be doing as many public sessions anymore, private and public. My work will shift, and I will have to be okay with that shift. And that's why the people who go into my Kokoro 33 certification program are trained to the degree that they are. I'm preparing them to take my place. When it's time, they will. Until then, you can go to my website. You can go emmieevolving.com, or you can go soulworksynergistics.com / Emmie services. This is not an energetic system that I have any intention of keeping to myself. It's not. But I will not irresponsibly disseminate information that could harm other people. Okay. I've had people try and shame me for, like, this is our information. Why are you? No, it's not your information. This is information from my personal history as a soul. It is not yours, it is mine. And if I choose to share, I choose to share. And whatever way I choose to share is the way it will be received. And no one gets a say in that. So I'm very, very selective of the type of information I disseminate. Um, if this system has a capacity to override and negate end stage heart failure with a life expectancy of 3 weeks, that was a year and a half ago. It has a capacity to absolutely wreck a perfectly good heart. So I have to be very responsible with the way I teach. I am extremely thorough in the way I teach. I try my best to make sure that any workshops that people are part of, you're not just being given any of the techniques and left to fend for yourself. No, my workshops, even this workshop that's coming up, the morphogenetic fundamentals workshop, that's a basic workshop, right? Within the first 2 hours, you will be more powerful than any Reiki master, any level, anything. You'll be able to reach core code for yourself. And I will teach you how. This is something that is absolutely essential in your understanding of how to work your own energy. There's still space if you want to be part of that workshop. It's an intensive workshop, but it's something you can handle. You were able to handle that little exercise we did a few minutes ago, right? You can handle this workshop. This is no biggie. It's no biggie. But the information will be extremely robust, very robust. And that's something that, anyone who's taken a workshop from me before or private sessions, mentorships, things like that, y'all know when I teach is not no Googled, let me copy and paste. I didn't give you anything to enrich your understanding type of teaching. No, I take it to a whole nother level. I'm an absolute nerd. I love it. I am obsessed with knowledge and learning, not to be better than others, but because I have a thirst for learning. And I love to share what I've learned through my lifetime. I love that. And when I get opportunities to, even better, even better. These workshops, I rarely do them. Okay. And when I do a workshop, I rarely repeat the workshop. That's one of my quirks. That's just one of my quirks. So if you would like to be a part of this workshop and learn and really be able to preserve your energy, because people often ask me, like, how can you do these live streams for so long and not be depleted? I'm not using my energy. Are you kidding me? I'm a germaphobe. I'm not commingling energies with anyone, and that's one of the things that I teach is how to preserve your energy and effectively do very powerful energetic work with minimal effort and minimal depletion for you. Minimal. Like, most people don't know this, but energetic workers will subconsciously use chords to perform their energetic work. They don't know that. I don't. I don't teach how to use chords. I teach how to remove them. And you can't just cut them. Michael is not some lackey that you can call on to cut cords. I don't know who started that lie, but he's sick of it. Michael doesn't cut cords. He doesn't. The reason I know how to cut cords is because I had something cord into me and he told me to remove it myself. I asked him to remove it and he told me, do it yourself. And I was like, but, and he's like, do it yourself. And I was like, how do I do it? And then he told me. And that's how I know how to remove cords. Michael doesn't remove cords, guys. I'm sorry. I know some are like, oh my gosh, but then what about the cord? It's probably still there. You probably cut something and it probably grew back because that's the nature of the cord. Yeah.
Oh, all of these great things. And oh my goodness, she will go more into detail in those workshops. I'm telling you, if you can grab a seat, grab a seat. Um, Emmy, I want to address the Soul Fam, but I do have just one more question. 30 seconds is okay. Some people are not able to make it to live streams, but they want a reading or they want a service done. Do they have to be present on the live stream to be able to have that done?
Nope. No, we can timestamp it for you. And watching the recording is exactly the same as being present. I mean, I would prefer that you're present just because, I mean, I like it. I like working with you and interacting. You don't have to be. People have witnessed me timestamping quite a few different things, from readings to energy work to all sorts of different things. And it's literally the same thing. I know how to, I guess you could say, project the energetic code modulations into a video recording. And it's literally like I'm working on you when it's recorded. I invite you guys to go look for the most recent fire ceremony. Watch it and see yourself, feel yourself, experience it as though it was live. You can feel the energy still running through. When you watch some of my recorded group meditations, things like that, you can feel it, like the energy is running through as though I'm doing it live. That's because I've figured out how to project the code modulation into an electronic recording. So it's the same thing. And what I like to do, especially if I haven't worked with you before and you're not able to be present, I like to put all of that modulation into a containment unit that's encrypted. And I give your higher self the key pass. And so when you go to watch the video, the higher self will pressure inject it into your morphogenetic template. So that way, I'm not working on you and you're driving and suddenly you're dizzy. Some people, if they're sensitive to energy, they'll get a little bit dizzy, some lightheadedness, things like that, maybe a little bit nausea. And I don't want to do that to people if I don't know if they're like sitting and in a safe space, not operating machinery, things like that. So yeah, my energetic work, it's very, very accommodating for the client. It's very accommodating from expedites to private sessions, very, very accommodating. So that's one of the things that I really like to make sure that I maintain, continue that level of accommodation. Yeah, I have a lot of gratitude for being able to live the life that I live, where I'm not just tolerated anymore, where I'm actually seen for, that asset that I am. I can be a huge asset to any group, to any society, to any individual. And it's still an honor to me, even though I know my worth and what I offer. It's still very much an honor to me when people choose to allow me to, because you don't have to choose to allow me to. And I'm very aware of that. Very, very aware. You don't have to choose to trust me. You don't have to choose to allow me to do energy work on you. You don't even have to choose to be present for live streams. And when you choose that, it very much honors me. It honors me beyond what words could possibly convey.
So beautiful. So, fam, we want to know something. Did you learn anything? What's your takeaway? Put hashtag takeaway chat in the chat and let us know what your takeaway is. And any questions that you all may have, whatever time that we have to ask them. I know we will be doing an exclusive chat right after this, but I'm
Yeah.
going to shut my mouth and let you all do what you do. Thank you so much for the honor and the privilege. Emmy, thank you very much. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. I deeply appreciate you being able to guide me through the different things that people would most likely want to hear about. So we have time to take just a few questions. We are running a little bit late, but I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to be able to ask something that's really pressing, anything that you want to know about my energetic system, about me and my history, um, anything at all about sessions, anything at all. And while you guys are typing your question, I do encourage you to take a look at my website where I offer all of my different sessions, different types of services. And people don't know what to pick because some of the words are unfamiliar, right? It's not that you don't understand it, it's that you just haven't heard it enough. So don't be intimidated by that. Don't be intimidated by the lack of familiarity to the words. Choose what you are drawn to. Every single time someone picks a session, they don't know what it is. And we get to the session day and we're like talking and they're like, "Yeah, I don't know what this session is. I just kind of picked it. I hope I didn't pick the wrong thing." And I'm assessing them and I'm like, "Oh my God, your soul totally told you to pick this. This is the most perfect session for you." Especially right now, the way your energy is, it is the most perfect thing. I would have absolutely recommended this. And that is what happens literally 9 times out of 10. It's very, very rare for someone to pick the wrong session. And, and then we're like, oh, I shouldn't do that to you. That's very, very, very rare. Usually in those instances, it's something where there's something parasitic trying to prevent them from picking the right session, where they were drawn to a session and then something parasitic said, no, you should do this instead, and they pick the other thing instead. And that's fine because we don't have to do the session that might harm you. We will do what you actually need. All right. So don't be intimidated. Don't feel like you're less than just because you're not familiar with the words. It's perfectly fine. This is how we learn. We learn by exposing, immersing ourselves in environments where we don't know too much. This is how we learn. Okay. And just like you guys, I'm immersed in the environment full of the kind of love you give me. And I'm learning this is something I'm worthy of. Like I've earned this love. It's okay for me to receive this love. We have to immerse ourselves in the environments that we're scared of so that we can learn the reasons why we don't have to be scared. Right.
Mhm.
So I don't see anyone typing questions. Let me scroll up really quick to see if there's oh my God. I accidentally zoomed into the page. I thought I was going to
Oh,
end the live stream on accident. Let me just see. Um, wow, everyone just loved all of the stuff we talked about. Tennille says, my fingers actually moved. And then when I put on my heart, I felt the surge. I was told this is energy I can access. Yes,
wow. I love
yes.
it.
You can absolutely access it. Absolutely. That's your energy. You don't have to ask anyone for that. You don't have to have an intercessor. You don't have to call in angels and guides and guardians and aliens and no, that's inside you. You're just allowing it to come to the surface to be detected.
Yes.
Um Oh, Dolphin Dream says, thank you for saying this. I was wondering that myself. Are you talking about how to choose a session? A lot of people don't know how to choose a session because they get a little bit intimidated by the words. And it's like, I can't use other words because I feel like it's me being condescending. I would rather you learn the words and be able to use the words than for me to take this stance of, oh, you don't know. Let me explain it simpler. No, I believe in your intelligence. I believe in your capacity to learn new things. I believe in your ability and willingness to overcome any insecurities you might have. The words stay exactly as they are. I believe in your intelligence. So I think we do have to get going because I have to get to the recurring contribution chat. So if you guys are part of the Soul Sanctuary.love, I'll be meeting everyone in that private chat space. We have a lot of things to talk about. A lot of things came up in readings yesterday, especially that Blu-ray update. A lot of things to talk about. If you want to be part of this conversation, it's a private conversation on a private platform, my ministry platform. There's still time for you to join in. You simply go to the soulsanctuary.love and you can sign up. Any type of recurring contribution option will give you access to this conversation. Okay. All you got to do is sign up. And this recurring contribution, it is a donation to my ministry that happens every month at the same time. Every month, the same day that you initiate it, that's the day it will be pulled from your account. And with that, because it's not a membership and it's a contribution to a qualified nonprofit, it is a tax deduction for you. So you keep your receipts and you can claim that on your taxes and you can share space with me. There's different options for you to choose from, whatever you choose. For those who are not yet part of my ministry area, private area, I hope you choose to join. Today is going to be some very intense conversations. And by the way, for those who did try to join and my payment processor was being a bunghole, the issue I believe is resolved and it can begin taking in new recurring contributions once again. So I love you guys so much. A special thank you to you, Ocean Lover. You bring so much out of me when you join me on these podcasts. Ah, my depth of
Thank you so much.
appreciation. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the honor of your presence here. So, all right, guys, we're going to call it a day. I hope everyone has an amazing rest of your day. And I hope all of my ministry members come and join me in our private chat. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Bye, everyone.